Welcome back to Recap It. Today we are going to recap 2012 drama/romance The Concubine. To escape a life of poverty, Hua Yun becomes one of the king's concubines and two men become captivated by her. But before we begin, please consider subscribing to this channel. Now without wasting any further time, let's begin, shall we? The film is set in the early Joseon dynasty, when Prince Sung-won is invited to dinner by an aristocracy. He meets his daughter Hua Yun there and develops an immediate attraction to her. But before he can act, he finds that Hua Yun is in love with Kwon Yu, the aristocrat's adoptive son. When Sung Mother Ones discovers that he is drawn to Hua Yun, she cautions him to avoid her since it will harm his reputation. Sung Mother Ones was the previous king's concubine and is now the stepmother of the current king, who is also Sung half-brother. Ones. The current king has no heirs, and his wife recently passed away. As a result, he urges his stepmother to locate him a new queen as soon as possible. As a result, Sung Mother Ones requests the aristocrat to deliver his daughter Hua Yun to the king as a concubine. But she refuses to become a concubine and one night goes away with Kwon Yu. The pair is apprehended by the guards the next morning. Hua Father Yuns intends to put Kwon Yu to death for the murder, but she begs her father to spare him and agrees to serve as the king's concubine. After giving birth to a son, Hua Yun has become the queen 5 years later. Sung-won comes to the palace after 5 years away to meet his brother, the king, after learning of his terrible health. He then gives Hua Yun a hairpin as a token of his feelings for her. The king's condition deteriorates, and he eventually succumbs to an unknown ailment. Hua Father Yuns believes the king died as a result of a toxic assassination and is determined to find out the truth. He and his supporters are unexpectedly arrested under Sung Command One's mother's before he can do anything. Sung-won ascends to the throne and becomes the future king of Korea. His mother assumes the titles of Regent and Queen Mother and seizes control of the royal court. Hua Yun and her kid have been relocated to a modest home that is monitored 24 hours a day. She is determined to show that the former king was poisoned. After some wrangling, she discovers that the previous king had lunch with Sung Mother Ones on the day he died. Sung-won visits Hua Yun one night and assures her that her father will be released soon. Hua Yun learns from him that Kwon Yu, her previous boyfriend, is working among the eunuchs in the palace. Sung Mother Ones learns of his secret visit to Hua Yun and tells him that he can have any woman in the country except her, as long as Hua Yun remains a threat to their power. In the meantime, Hua Yun visits Kwon Yu and is relieved to see him alive. She informs him about the former king's assassination and asks for his assistance, but he declines and blames her for what happened to him. Kwon Yu admits that her father ordered her to be castrated after she departed because she dared to elope with his daughter. Kwon Yu has joined Minister Yoon and the Queen Mother in demanding that Hua Father Yuns be executed for his actions. When Hua Yun learns of the execution, she pleads with Sung-won to halt it. Sung-won begs his mother to put an end to the execution, but she refuses because she wants to punish Hua Yun and her family for betraying her. Sung-won has had enough of playing the puppet king and orders Kwon Yu to immediately halt the execution. However, Kwon Yu defies Sung Exoneration One's orders and personally ensures the execution of Hua Father Yuns. The court then advises that Sung-won and the Queen Mother exile Hua Yun and her son, but Sung-won declines because he does not want a widow to suffer for her father's faults. He tries to communicate with Hua Yun since he still cares for her. Hua Yun, on the other hand, refuses to speak with him since she holds him responsible for her father's death. As a result, Sung-won chooses Gmok, Hua Personal Yun's maid, as his minor concubine. Sung-won learns about Hua Private Yun's habits through her and is excited by learning more about her. For delighting Sung-won, Gmok is granted his own room the next day. Hua Yun, on the other hand, is still grieving over her father's death and is unsure of what to do next. Later, Hua Yun visits Sung-won, dressed in the hairpin he gave her years ago, in order to satisfy him and gain his favor. When Sung Mother Ones learns of this, she resolves to expel Hua Yun and her son, whom she regards as a menace. As a result, she instructs Minister Yoon to kill Hua Yun and her son. Minister Yoon delegated the mission to Kwon Yu, who accepts to assassinate Hua Yun and her son in order to maintain his position at the royal court. In the meantime, Gmok devises a plan to get Sung-won to her room. She was hesitant at first to become a minor concubine, but she now intends to give birth to a prince and keep her concubine status. She even approaches Hua Yun and asks her to give her some jewelry so that she can seem more attractive. She wears the identical hairpin that Sung-won gave to Hua Yun a long time ago. As the days pass, Sung Mother once puts pressure on him to have a son and secure their royal dynasty. Sung Won, on the other hand, is fed up with being a puppet and visits Gmok, who has been promoted to concubine. He becomes enraged when he notices she is wearing the hairpin he gave to Hua Yun. Gmok says that Kuan Yu was the one who had a connection with Hua Yun before she became a concubine in order to preserve her own life. Sung Won approaches Hua Yun, accusing her of hiding Kuan Yu in the palace as a fake eunuch. He even asks if Kuan Yu is her child's biological father. Hua Yun, on the other hand, denies all of the charges and insists on her innocence. As a result, Sung Won takes down Quan Pan's Yus and discovers that he was castrated, establishing Hua innocence. Yun's. Sung Won then tries to force mate with Hua Yun because he can no longer control his wants, but Hua Yun stops him and tells him to come back when he is a true king. Kuan Yu then has a change of heart and feels he is the father of Hua child. Yun's. He offers that they flee the palace together and start over, but Hua Yun refuses, claiming that she will not put her kid in danger and will protect him at all costs. As directed by Queen Mother and Minister Yun, Kuan Yu prepares the poison to assassinate Hua Yun and her son one day. Instead, he poisons Sung Restorative One's drink in the hopes of killing him and installing Hua Sun Yun's as king. Sung Won, on the other hand, refuses to drink the medical drink and instead orders Kuan Yu to do so. Kuan Yu has no choice but to sip the therapeutic drink and vomit blood as a result of the poison. Sung Won is taken aback by this and decides to save Kuan Yu in order to learn the truth. He interrogates the physician afterwards and discovers that the director of medicine is Minister Yun, who works directly for Queen Mother, raising suspicions that Queen Mother attempted to assassinate Sung Won. Soon after, Hua Yun sends her kid away to a secure location, knowing that a storm is approaching the castle. The Queen Mother later arrests her and charges her with treason. Minister Yun is then ordered by Queen Mother to kill Hua Yun and dispose of her. But, before he can do so, Sung Won dispatches the royal guards to immediately arrest Minister Yun. In the meantime, Sung Won confronts his mother, accusing her of plotting to assassinate him, Hua Yun, and her son in order to steal the kingdom. The Queen Mother denies the charge, claiming that she genuinely cares for him. She confesses to poisoning the former king in order to install Sung Won on the throne. The news astounds Sung Won, as it was never his ambition to become king and he adored his stepbrother. Sung Won summons Kuan Yu and Minister Yun to the court to determine whether or not they conspired to poison him. When Sung Won asks Kuan Yu who ordered him to poison the king, Kuan Yu lies, claiming that Sung Murder Won's attempt was planned by Queen Mother and Minister Yun. The revelation shocks Sung Won, who orders his guards to execute all of the men responsible. The Queen Mother will be confined under house arrest in her quarters for the rest of her life. Hua Yun meets Kuan Yu as he is being brought to be executed to praise him for honoring his vow. When Kuan Yu asks Hua Yun to look for their kid when he dies, Hua Yun responds that the prince is hers alone. This grieves Kuan Yu, who has given his life for Hua Yun and her child, who may or may not be his own. Hua Yun later meets up with Sung Won. Hua Yun embraces Sung loved ones now that he is a true king, and the two mate passionately. Hua Yun, however, stabs Sung Won with the same hairpin he had given her after mating. He did everything in his power to win her affection, yet the lady he loved the most ended up being the one who took his life. Queen Mother is assassinated shortly after. The royal court welcomes Hua Yun and her kid back. The door behind them closes, and Hua Yun realizes she can't go back as her kid plays on the throne. This is where the movie ends. I hope you enjoyed it, as always until next time.